and welcome to my Everything I Want to Knit in 2023 video. My name on Instagram is Orchid's Heart, and I'm doing an episode today sharing with you my knitting plans for the coming year. I'm hoping the light's okay. I am sat in the window. I'm sat in my sewing room. It's kind of like, it's like the spare room, sewing room kind of space, and it's absolutely flipping freezing. But I'm sat on an electric blanket to try and keep me a bit warmer. I didn't want to drag everything downstairs to the living room by the fire because there's just too much. You can't see the chaos that's around me, but trust me, there is chaos. I did have some fingerless gloves, I'm going to put them back on. So how is everybody? I hope everyone's okay. We are having like our second really cold spell in England, so I'm wearing loads of wool. I have actually got wool leggings on, a wool long sleeve top, a linen dress, my Fern and Feather, which I knit in Lettlopi, over the dress, and the long sleeve t-shirt, my birds of a feather shawl, and some fingerless mitts that my mum made. I don't know if there was a pattern or not. So I'm in lots and lots of shades of brown and wool, and woolly socks, although not ones I knitted myself. But yes, so I have made a bit of a list. I tend to have a few things in the back of my mind that I want to knit. I'm sure we all do. But especially after my yarn shopping when I went to America last autumn, late last autumn, I really want to knit some of the projects I've been meaning to knit for a long time. Some of these patterns and yarns I've had kind of since I first started to learn to knit, but I didn't have the skills at the time. And I definitely have the skills now. For whatever reason, I've put some of them off. So yes, I rooted through my stash. I had to think about patterns I wanted to knit, and I've made some plans. Now, I made this list before I made the list of what I knit last year, and I was really overwhelmed by the list of things I wanted to knit. But after seeing what I did knit last year, a lot less overwhelmed, because I knit a lot more last year than I thought I was going to. But I do want to say this, it shouldn't be about quantity. That's never the case. This, for me, if I don't get through everything on this list, which I don't think I will because it is a lot, that's totally okay. But it's about, I've been collecting some really nice yarns, and it's about using those yarns, making those patterns, before either my tastes change and I no longer would get the use out of the item, or not spending more money on nice yarn when I've already got really nice yarn that could be used to make really nice projects. So yes, and it's maybe a little bit about condensing the amount of space that my yarn's taking over in this room. I have like a wooden cabinet with drawers, not a chest of drawers, it's like an old, I'm looking at it, sorry, an old industrial kind of cupboard. It's in a really dark corner, otherwise I would show you, but it'd be a terrible video, you wouldn't be able to see anything. And then I have like a little metal box that I put all of my sock yarns in. So, and then I have a basket also in the corner of my room with all the things I'm kind of working on at the moment, and a glass cupboard up there. So it gets a bit ridiculous, and I kind of want to scale back and be more in a acquiring what I'm going to use soon kind of frame of mind, rather than having this many projects lined up. So having said that, that's really exciting because it means I don't have to spend very much money on yarn this year, which means maybe I can put that money towards other exciting things like doing things with friends, having fun, or maybe some sewing projects, although I have got some quite nice fabric stashed as well. So without going on much longer, I shall start. So let's start with jumpers maybe? No, I'm going to start with shawls. So I have 2 shawl patterns, possibly 3 lined up that I want to make. So the first one I want to knit 2 of. Sorry, everything's piled up, so I'm going to have to lean forwards and back a bit to get things to show you. So this one, which is the colour craze shawl, so this, I don't know whether this is going to be the right way around or not, but you can see the picture. So this is the colour craze by Tammy Gore. So it's got like brioche sections, colourwork sections. No, not colourwork, it's stripes, eyelet detail, and then brioche. So I started knitting this before, but I didn't like my yarn and colour combinations, so I frogged it. I started knitting this twice and frogged it actually because I didn't like the combo. But I have 2 plans that I want to do. So the first one, well, not necessarily the first one, but one of them, I want to knit in a combination of some yarn from this cone. Now I don't know what this cone is. It might be woolly knit cone, don't know. It says just pure wool, 650 grams. So I bought it secondhand from a mill. Well, somebody had got it from a mill. So it's like light fingering weight, like a woolly knit cone. And then I have the Ziploc bag of Woolly Mammoth Fibre Co yarn. Sorry, I think I've got some yarn in my throat. So one of which is this variegated skein. If you can see that, sorry, because it's blowing out a bit. Maybe over here is better. And so this is natural sock 4-ply. This might be like my main colour, if you will, with this as a background. And it's in the colourway Mythology. So it's got some lighter sections, some darker sections. And then I have a couple of pinky mini skeins, which are kind of all the same colour. So I probably would treat them as the same colour. And then this leftover bit from one of my shawls. So they are quite similar. And then with this as a contrast. They are quite similar, and it might be that I pull some other mini skeins out from something else, or some other leftovers. But I kind of thought that this might read as just like a pinky with neutrals type shawl. So the contrast maybe wouldn't be that high, but it'd be nice and squishy to kind of wrap myself up in. Now this was really cheap. These are just kind of spares and leftovers. So it's only really this that I bought to go towards it. So I'm quite excited. So these are also Woolly Mammoth, I don't know if I said that, Fibre Co natural sock. So yeah, I should have enough here to do the shawl. If not, I will pull some mini skeins from something else. The other one I have planned is another kind of like scrappy combination. So before I actually learnt to knit, I bought a skein of Merino singles by Lichen and Lace, which I think is absolutely stunning. And I think it was what, £20, £25, and it was the most money I'd ever spent on a skein of yarn. And I persuaded my mother to knit me some fingerless mittens because she had knit me these, and I said, but could you do the same thing but longer? Now, I didn't know at the time that Merino singles was a bad idea for something that would get a lot of friction. And also, she wasn't that advanced at knitting, so she knit it flat and said I could seam it up, but when I seamed it up, it just all went a bit like squinky. And to be honest, she did this maybe 4 years ago and I've never worn them because it just didn't look that great. And I felt really bad. But what I've decided I'm going to do is I'm going to unpick my dodgy seaming and I'm going to unravel them, which means I will have my 100-gram skein back. And I'm going to use this as kind of the main background colour for another colour craze shawl. And then I have a few scraps leftovers in similar kind of yellowy, pinky, grungy colours. So that's the Merino singles, which, because it's not got any plies, it's just a single strand, will be really drapey but not very hard wearing, so very good for a shawl. I've then got this little bit of which I got in a D-stash, which I might use in some socks, but might use in this. This is a bit of Viola yarns fingering. And then I accidentally bought these two in the Merino singles base rather than the sock fingering base. So these are the, what does she call them? It has a funny name, like Lopet or something like that. They're these like mini skeins by a company called Vilaine. It's French, so they're dyed in Lyon. And so this is 73 meters of merino fingering. This one is in the colour, I think the colour might have, oh, Taking a Nap in the Larch. And this is in the Sunflowers. So they're both colours that actually appear in this, so I think it would look really nice. This is a little bit of leftover from a tank top I made, Life in the Long Grass Fine Sock. So I might use some of it in this. I equally might put this towards a pair of socks. But I think combined, obviously I've got a lot more of this this one. Combined, I should have enough here to make the shawl. If not, I can definitely use some scraps of fingering sock or other like 4-ply yarns. So that's really exciting. I might even add a little bit of mohair scraps. I've got quite a lot of mohair scraps in similar colours that I've been given, which might add some nice texture to some sections maybe. Or if I used like a plain yarn in between on some sections, then maybe that would add a bit of texture to that. I do have some leftover quite neutral merino sock yarn by Nervous Fibre that's kind of the same background colour as this, but with a lot less flex in it. So that might get put in as well, and that would really highlight out against these. So this project actually quite excites me. So this might be something I cast on soon. Equally, it does feel like quite a spring project, so I might save this for the spring. I don't know. But that's one. And I had that in a jar. So let me pop that back. I have these giant jars that I've been keeping like pretty scraps in, so I'm just going to pop those back in. I'm going to have a big tidying mission at the end of this. It's like a candy jar of pretty bits of yarn. I'll pop these to one side, along with a little scrap. So that's the two colour craze shawls by Tammy Gore that I want to have a go at. I also want to, my last shawl, no, maybe I've got two more. I want to do the Var shawl. Now, I started knitting with this yarn and frogged it a few times. I was having some problems with crescent shawls with the cast on edge. I've spoken about that loads of times, but I'm just going to do it. I'm going to do a crescent shape shawl, probably the Var shawl, in this Smuid by Shilasdair, naturally dyed, 75% Blueface Leicester, 25% Gotland. Feels gorgeous, lots of drape, lovely colour. This also might be something I cast on soon because it'd be quite straightforward, and I just really like to use this yarn and wear it because it'd be really gorgeous with my winter clothes. And then the other shawl I might do, although realistically this might not happen this year, is the Satellite Shawl by Andrea Mowry. I have in here lots of potential yarns I could use. Trying to open it. I have two gorgeous mohairs I bought whilst I was in America by Little Fox. The base is Nuage, which means dream, I believe. It's baby Surrey alpaca and silk, and I got the colour Harbour and Forest. So they're slightly different from each other. I also have, from when I first started learning to knit and knew nothing about yarn, 3 skeins of lace weight yarn by Garethnor. So there's 380 meters in each, so I've got 3 times that. I did wonder about knitting a shawl, pairing those together. I think that could be really lovely. equally, if I was going to do the satellite shawl, I could use either of these. These are both naturally dyed lace weight as a contrast. I also have this naturally dyed lace weight as well, which feels gorgeous. I might make a tank top in it, but equally I'm not sure. I feel like it would make a really nice shawl. Sorry, these are alpaca silk linen lace by Woollenflower. This I haven't got a clue. It was thrifted and I dyed it with Buddleia. So that's the plan. So that's 4 shawls. I think maybe I'll get 2 or 3 knitted. Let's aim for 3. I was thinking about doing a scrappy Vertices Unite. I'm just checking my basket, but there weren't any shawl patterns there. No. I'd quite like to do a scrappy Vertices Unite. I made one of those before in like pastel shades, but I would quite like to do one in my leftover earthy rustic yarns, so all in like shades of brown. I'm not sure if that will happen this year. Whether that would be the best use to those scraps. I might use them for smaller things like hats and gloves and cowls instead, but that's possibly an option. So going on from shawls, I do have one cowl on my list, which doesn't have a pattern. But I have a very small amount of Nutiden in these 2 colours. So like this dark sagey green and then this earthy kind of brown. And I would like to do a colourwork cowl. I've got under 100 grams. I do also have a bit of cream Lettlopi. So these 3 colours go together really well. But I have no idea what pattern I want to knit with this. I want something cosy. I mean, maybe there's enough here to do a shawl. Was going to hold it double because I feel like it's quite delicate. But yeah, so I'm not sure. So if anyone has any ideas, please do share. I'm equally thinking about just making it up and using a colourwork chart from something else and then just knitting it as a cowl. That might be an option. I'm just a little bit afraid about working out how many stitches to cast on and then getting that right or wrong, because I think it'd be really difficult to frog back without a mohair involved. And I don't really want to use a mohair with it. I want it to be quite like pure. So I would like to knit that one soon because I would like to wear it. I also think it'd be, once I got going, it wouldn't take that long to do and I'd probably get really addicted to it and do it really quickly. So I might just go for it. So if anybody has any ideas, please do share. And I apologise for all the plastic bags. Most of them have been reused from other things that are getting thrown out at work. And because I'm paranoid about bugs in the summer, I try and make sure everything's sealed away. I get a little bit more relaxed about it in the winter because they're not around. But but that's why I have things in jars or bags. I don't tend to have things out in baskets when it gets warmer because I'm paranoid. The only other so this isn't a wearable item, but I have quite a lot of leftover bits of DK by WM Fibre Co, and I would quite like to knit probably a hot water bottle cover with it because it's really pretty. It's got a few different flecks in it, and I think that would be quite nice. Or I could do something colourwork because I have got skein that I dyed. Sorry, it's all tangled up. But the colour's gone a bit weird, so I think I'd have to dye it again. I'm not that happy with the colour. It looks better on screen than it does in real life, to be honest. So yeah, that's kind of accessories and random objects. I do have a couple of sock patterns I'd like to knit. I don't have all of them here. I mean, I have a couple of sock sets I'd like to knit up. I have this one, which is from WM Fibre Co. So I would quite like to knit up some socks in this. I'm thinking like maybe something textured with this one, and maybe not necessarily using these with this. I don't need a whole 100-gram skein to make a pair of socks, so it might be that I use, I don't know, 80 grams of it of something to knit a pair of socks all in one colour, and then use the last 20 with these two 20s to make some scrappy, like stripy socks or something. I could definitely make 2 pairs of socks out of this because it's 140 grams. So yeah, so that would be good. I also have a pair of skeins a friend gave me, and I've been meaning to knit these up into socks for quite a while. I know exactly what I want to do. I have this little like teal scrap, which I think goes really well with this one. So I definitely want to use these two. This would be for the cuff. And I think I have another one of these little balls. If not, it'd have to be quite a short cuff. And then I think I'm going to use these two to do stripes. Each one's 50 grams. And so stripe the two. It might be that I do a thicker stripe with this and then a thinner stripe, which would mean some of this would be left over, but then use this for the heels and toes. I don't know, I really like the colours in this one. I think it's really pretty. So I would quite like to do those, and that's probably something I will do in the spring because that feels to me like quite a spring pattern. And I do want to knit some more socks out of John Arbon's Exmoor sock. I have quite a lot of that left. And I have a colour scheme in mind, very much inspired by another project that someone else has done, but she's not going to release as a pattern, so I'm not going to copy the pattern, but I like the combination of colours she's used. I think instead I'm going to knit a pattern by Pip and Pin, but I haven't decided, so I'll share more about that one when I've made my decision. The last pair of socks I would like to knit is the Fairy Ring socks by Katie Greenbean, and I should just about have enough yarn for this. I have 2 skeins of Drover. Now they are 2 different colours, I promise. I think it's the colours that she said to use, but the contrast doesn't look that high to me, so I'm actually not sure. I have a little bit of leftover red by Brooklyn Tweed, Loft Shelter, something like that, which I will use for the mushrooms because it's high up on the legs, so it doesn't need to worry about being hard wearing. And then for the green, I will probably use some John Arbon Exmoor sock. Now, I probably would enjoy knitting these in the autumn, but I also kind of want to knit them sooner because they're really pretty. So who knows? Maybe I'll wait to the autumn, maybe I won't. Equally, this leads me into garment projects that I want to knit. I do want to knit the jumper as well. So, however, this is a cardigan pattern. I think I'd rather knit it as a jumper and not do the steek, so omit the steek stitches. I think because it is a bit of a kitsch pattern, kitsch as in like colourful, It's really cute and really lovely. I think for me it'd be more wearable as a cropped jumper. So I don't really have the yarn for this. I have a few scraps that I could probably use for the green or for the red, but for the main body of the jumper I would probably need to buy some yarn. So I would probably buy something by West Yorkshire Spinners perhaps. I think that's probably what I would do. So they're both by Katie Greenbean. What next? Something that I'm going to be knitting very soon is the East Wind jacket. I'm looking because I can show you a picture of that. Sorry, because I do have the book. So the East Wind jacket is by Viola. Emily Foden, and it's this one here. I'm sure lots of people have seen it. It's also on the front of the book here. So it's quite a long woolen jacket, and it's knit with her DK, I think, and a mohair. However, before Christmas, bought myself 5 plates of Lettlopi in this kind of, I think it was the dark grey colour. So it's like a browny grey. And then I also bought in a sale this purpley mohair by Cocon in the colourway Rust. No, yeah, Rust. To me, that's not the colour Rust actually is. Rust to me is more of an orange colour, more like this. But they actually go together really well. I don't have a swatch of them knitted together. I just have a swatch really of, sorry, because I'm wearing brown and I'm in the dark a bit, you can't really see it. But, and it's got like a really lovely drape and it feels really soft and I think it'd be really lovely to wear. So I am probably going to cast that on next week. I've just started knitting a cardigan, so once I get established with that, I'm going to cast this one on. I only think I have just enough yarn to knit it, so I won't really be able to do any modifications. I am thinking though that if I did have any of this left over, / I might buy some more in the future, I would like to knit a matching storm hood. So that's kind of like a detachable hood by Albiona McLaughlin. Totally inspired by Heather and Hops. Hers is in greys, mine will be in browns. I think it'd be a really wearable thing and I'm really excited for that. But I think it's going to take me a while to knit because it's quite big and it's in pieces. But maybe I can do the pieces, because at this rate I'm not going to get it finished before the cold ends. So maybe it'll be a project I knit in pieces throughout the year and seam it up, aim to seam it up maybe late summer, early autumn. That feels like that'd be quite a nice thing to do. Equally, I do get impatient with projects and just finish them, so maybe that wouldn't happen that way, I don't know. Very Rowing Eastwind. So another project I have on my list is the Alpenglow by Andrea Mowry. I have this skein of Spin Cycle. That's my only skein of Spin Cycle I've ever bought, and I bought this on holiday in America as a souvenir, and it's the colour Deep Bump. I think if I can just about get away with using one skein for my size of the Alpenglow jumper. And then I bought, whilst I was there, these 2 skeins of like black blue. It's called Twisted Willow. And the base or the colour is called Cobblestone Underpainting, I think. It's like a really unusual colour, definitely like a black blue, and it's really soft. And it's quite a luxurious kind of combination, it feels like. It's BFL on brown Masham, but it feels, Massam, however you say that, it feels really, really squishy. This was a bit of an indulgence, this purchase. So I'd like it to be something really special. And I think these colours go together really well. So I still need like some scraps of something to finish it. So it might be that I use this in there and it becomes like a blue and yellow kind of knit. I also have, because there's a bit of like a mohair section, this as well. So this might be it, but I feel like the original pattern has like another colour in there as well. So I might do that. I do have this random skein of pale blue. I don't know. I also have this could go in there. So I think I would rather use these 3 and then scraps for the extra bits, because the other bits you only use small amounts of colour and I don't want to break into a whole skein like this just to use a little bit unless I've only got a little bit left over. So that's that. So this is just naturally dyed scraps. This is like an alpaca. I spoke about this before, but I thought about maybe knitting some kind of like waistcoat or vest. This is Lab Anime Mohair. This is Debbie Bliss Fine Donegal. Kind of like the 4-ply weight. That might happen. That might become something else. Don't know. So some of these I'm unsure about. So I'm kind of trying to do this relatively quickly to kind of share the ideas, but also because I want to be able to stick pictures in. If this gets too long, I can't. So maybe I should slow down a little bit. This is a yarn I've had for a really, really long time. So this is Holst Super Soft. I've got 5 or 6 of these, and this is the colour Ember. And any guesses what I'm going to knit with this? It's not very imaginative at all. I'm going to knit the Wool and Honey. And this, so I've had this, the pattern and this, for years. I think I bought this before I could really knit properly, and this. And I've been putting it off because a fingering weight jumper that's almost entirely purled fills me with utter dread. But I think I just need to do it because I would live in this. I would wear this all the time. It's the perfect colour. It's not like it's got a good shape. So I think I need to do it. I'm a little bit worried now I know more about gauge. This might not be thick enough. I do know loads of people that have knit, well, at least you can see on Ravelry, quite a few people have knit this pattern in Holst Garn. Some people have had some issues with the gauge. So honestly, if it becomes too much and too stressful, I will frog it. I will use this yarn for another project, maybe hold it double and knit something else. And I will buy a different yarn to knit this because I do really want this jumper. I don't want to make it hell on earth for myself. So we'll see. If this was in a copper colourway, that would actually be really nice. Maybe that's an option. So there's that. And then I want to knit something with these two. So these are two fingering weight, I think they're both fingering weight, skeins I was given. I did like a trade or like a gift swap with somebody, a lovely lady in France. And they are two different bases. This is Merino with a little bit of Angora, so it's got a bit of fluff. This is, oh, I don't want to pull the tag out all the way. I'll never get it back in. A bunch of things I can't read in French. And then 20%, oh god, I can't get it in there. 20% alpaca, it said. I'll stay in. So hearing Crebe talk about the Lento pullover, I think that I want to knit this into Lento pullover striped, but I want to add a strand of mohair that's kind of like a medium colour between the two of these to kind of blend it together. So it'll be a low contrast striped jumper or cardigan. Cardigan might be more wearable. And I think that'd be really lovely. I do also have a mini skein of one of these bases in a much darker colour, which I could use for like the collar or like the arm cuffs or something like that. So I kind of want to use them all together because she chose the colours based on some socks I'd recently knit or something, and thought that they were really me. And I do really like them. I've just really struggled thinking of something that I could use them to make that would be meaningful and that I would wear. And so after hearing that you can knit the Lento out of two fingering weight skeins, I think that would be really lovely. But I think if I was just to stripe them without that mohair to tie it together, it might be a bit jarring for me. Whereas if it had the mohair, it'd be like this blend of grungy colours, which would really suit me. So can you steek something that has mohair in it? Or would it be slippy and undo? Has anybody steeked anything with mohair in before? I've just had that thought, is that going to be possible? Let me know if you have. I would be interested to hear about that. Something else I've been wanting to knit for a really long time since I first started to learn to knit is the Tegna by Caitlin Hunter. I think this is a really elegant knit and it's really pretty, and it's something that I think I'd like to knit controversially in a superwash fingering yarn. I say controversially because I don't normally use superwash. But if it's superwash, it's not as warm, which means it could be more of a spring knit and it'd be more drapey. The only thing is it'd be more likely to stretch out. So I don't know whether that's the best idea or not. Let me know your thoughts. And I do have two skeins of really beautiful Viola Moon yarn. This isn't the sock base, this is just the merino fingering in the colourway Slate. And it's got lots of gorgeous variations. So I would like to knit that into this. I think that'd be really pretty. I do also have 2 skeins, which I think would be even prettier, but this is her sock base. And I kind of want to knit a pair of really beautiful socks in it. But then 2 skeins, it does kind of seem a shame when you've got 2 skeins of something to knit one into socks and one into something else. So, I mean, that would make a really nice tegna with the 2 of those. So, but equally, if I knit a pair of socks with one, you know, I have lots of blues, and like I've showed you, in similar weights and mohair and stuff that would combine to be really nice. So, you know, to make a shawl or something. And lastly, because that is a lot, I have this bag of yarn I've dyed. This is a merino cotton blend. And I'm not going to get it out because you can see the colour. And I've dyed it with indigo and something yellow, so it's like a teal colour. And it's a 4-ply, but I'm going to hold it double. And I'm going to make a cropped minimalist cable jumper as like a summer version. Because of the cotton, I think it'd be quite good. So that'd be a nice summer knit. And that's kind of where I'm at. That's what I would like to knit. That's what I've got yarn for. A lot of these I do have the patterns for, some already printed as you've seen. And so that's kind of where we are. I have already started a couple of projects that was on that list, but I've not put them on that list because I've already started them. A Seasons cardigan by Ozetta, which I've nearly finished the yoke on, so that's coming on quite well. And some smaller projects. But yeah, so we'll see what actually ends up happening. I did agree to knit another Maya cardigan for my mother-in-law, so that needs to be added to the list. Probably in Juliet Yarns by Drea Natura. But yeah, lots to be getting on with. I did feel a bit overwhelmed, but actually I just feel super inspired and I don't know which one to pick first because I've got quite a few I'd like to knit right now. If I'm honest, nearly any of these I'd happily cast on right away. But I do want to think a little bit about what would be good for what season to knit, because I do quite often end up in a situation where I knit things for the season I'm in, and then by the time I finish it, I'm out of that season. But then nobody really wants to be knitting on really thick woolly items during the summer. So I don't know, because this would be really good to wear in the spring and summer. So that is something that maybe it should be starting to knit soon, but I'm not really feeling it at the moment because it's so cold. Kind of do still want to be knitting on the wintry items at the moment. So I think because I haven't got a shawl on the needles at the moment, a shawl or a cowl will be the next thing that I want to do. I kind of would like to do the hot water bottle cover at the moment because I'm feeling the trend. But that could be quite a good summer project because it's quite small. Yeah, I don't know. And I don't want to have too many things going on at once. I have some basic rib socks on the needles at the moment, but I have just finished my colourwork socks. So I might have a break from colourwork socks before casting on the next pair. We'll see. You'll have to wait till my next podcast to see what's happening next. That I might record next weekend. You're getting a lot of videos from me at the moment. But if I leave that one much longer, that video is going to be quite long. And I don't want it to get too long. So I'm going to end this here. Hopefully it wasn't too fast-paced for you. Maybe it gave you some ideas and some inspiration or reminded you of a project you've been wanting to knit for a really long time. But I think for me this year it's really about enjoying what I have, not feeling guilty about that, because I think it's a waste of energy feeling guilty about how much yarn you have. But I have lots, and there's only so much you can knit with the time that you have, and so I'm just going to enjoy it. So I'm going to go through my basket now and I'm going to load it up with the projects I realistically think I'm going to be knitting soon, and maybe put some of the others away. And yeah, I'm going to enjoy that tidying. So have a good week or two until I see you again. Keep warm if you are in the cold, and enjoy your knitting. Thank you. Goodbye.